Manifesto for the North. I'm delighted as editor of Con Home to be able to open it. This is in fact our second event with the NRG this year. William Atkinson from Con Home came and covered your conference earlier. That's Henry Hill, because William did it the year before that. And my plan next year, assuming we're not all swept off our feet by a general election, is to come to your conference next year myself and write it up, for better or worse. This room isn't particularly large. I can tell you it's a lot bigger once you take the chairs out. But even so, it is absolutely packed for this event. And I think that says something, John, about the NRG and its reputation and about the status of this document that's being launched this evening. I've really only got one thing further to add, which is that at a conference like this, you have the view from the official party in the speeches at the conference. Then sometimes below it you have noises off that are not entirely helpful to the leadership. This is in the space in between. It's the positive contribution of ideas towards a conservative future, good results in the North and a better future for the North. So, John, I'm looking forward to coming to your conference next year. It's over to you and welcome.
Thank you very much, Paul. Delighted to be here, and it's fantastic on behalf of the NRG to welcome you to this event. Obviously, when we reported in the media, it was an enormous room, completely packed, with about 700 people. I'm delighted to launch our manifesto. It's been a lot of hard work in achieving this, and our theme is Stronger North, Stronger Britain. And I'd like also to thank our donors and sponsors at the conference for their contribution, which has been greatly appreciated. We did have a very successful conference in Doncaster earlier in the year. It was the second one following on from the success of the first one. And as Paul has alluded to, there will be another conference next year, although we're moving across to the northwest for that, hopefully having it at Bolton. So sorry, Nick, we're leaving Doncaster. At that conference, we made a commitment to produce a manifesto at this conference with a hope to influence the party's manifesto next year, and we are confident that we can. But I'd also like to remind you all of the importance of the North. 25% of the English population actually lives in the north of England. It's still a major manufacturing centre, and the potential economically is enormous. But it's also important politically. In 2005, we had 20 MPs in the north of England. And if you included Scotland, we rose to the dizzy heights of 21. We are in a very different place now, and we want to stay there. But Labour took the North for granted, and in many respects they still do. And their policy, in my view, right now, is very much say nothing and do nothing. But Labour, as somebody once said to me, reminds them of Christopher Columbus. When he set sail for the Americas, he had no idea where he was going. When he got to the Americas, he hadn't the faintest idea where he was. And when he got home, he hadn't a clue where he'd been. And he did it with somebody else's money. That is Labour. But in contrast, I think we have made significant amounts of policy initiatives for the North. It started with the Northern Powerhouse, but then we've got the Towns Fund, High Street Fund, Levelling Up Fund, growth deals, devolution deals, and of course, mayors. We recognise that a lot has been done, but a lot more still needs to be done, and that is why the NRG exists, and that is our drive to make sure that come the next election, we have a manifesto that is also about the North. So I hope you all read it. I will highlight a few very quick points about it. First of all, there's a lot of talk about HS2, as you probably are aware. Can I remind you what is equally important is east-west connectivity. London has the Elizabeth line, we want the Charles line. And that's connecting Liverpool across to Hull and making sure that that line brings about the economic benefits that we all want to see in the north of England. Then there'll be devolution. I'm sure Ben will touch upon that. There are economic policies about attracting investment into the north, infrastructure, skills agenda, our ambition to build 500,000 houses in the north of England in the next Parliament, but also very importantly, leadership. we would like to see a minister for the North, somebody who articulates the ambitions of the North. And I think we'd have seen it recently when Andy Burnham's getting a few free hits on the media. Had we had a Minister of the North challenging that, I think it would have been a very difficult position for him. But ladies and gentlemen, the North matters. A stronger North will give us a stronger Britain. It also matters politically. It is the battleground at the next election. Win in the North and we win nationally. This manifesto is the start, but let us all work together to ensure that the red wall stays blue. Thank you. Mary.
Thank you very much. And at that point, John was supposed to introduce me as Mary Robinson, MP of Chew. But look, it's great to see everybody here and to have the room full, because you're all here because, like me, you believe that you want to have a stronger Britain. And the way to have a stronger Britain is to have a stronger North. And what we do know is that productivity in the North has not been keeping pace. And this is something that we've got to address. And in my view, we've got to address it from the start. This has been going on for generations and generations. It hasn't just started. And we need to begin it by beginning with the child's life. And that means having stronger education, having better education. It can't be right that a child in the North is going to be leaving school with less attainments than a child in the south of England. It can't be right. It's got to be addressed. It can't be right that a child born in the North is not going to live as long as a child born in the south. We know that can't be right. So these things have been accepted for decades and decades and decades and have to be changed. This is why the part of this manifesto that is really important, I feel, for me, so many bits of it are brilliant, but are around education, fairer funding, getting that funding right so that the North is not losing out in terms of the funding for our children. We have to get fairer funding. And we know that we suffered through the pandemic so badly because so many of our children weren't getting the education that they were in other parts of the country. And also because of the lockdown, so many of our children weren't in school in the same way that they were in other parts of the country. And we know that since COVID, that children haven't been going back to school in the same way that they have elsewhere. So absenteeism has been higher. So there's a lot of challenges facing us, but I really believe that if we concentrate on children, on education, on families and on outcomes, that we're going to have a better future. And part of that, really big part of it for me, is that we need to start sharing our data in a better and more joined up way, so that people who are interacting with children, whether it's in education or whether it's in local authorities, in all of the bodies, are able to share what they know and make sure that we're wrapping round the whole child and not just dealing with bits of things that are not right. And so I'm really proud to stand behind this manifesto. I think it really says a lot to what we want for the North, and I hope that you'll all get behind us and want to deliver this with us for the North. Thank you. And at this point, I will pass on to Lord Ben Houchem.
Thank you, Mary. That's very kind. Firstly, Johnny stood behind me because I've been sworn that I'm only allowed 2 minutes, so that'll probably be of great relief to many of you in this room who've ever heard me speak before. Secondly, I would say there may have been another individual earlier today who the press would say has had the most busy fringe event of the conference. I think it's fair to say that that former Prime Minister has been disappointed because this is clearly the busiest and best fringe event of the conference. And it's really, really inspiring to see you all here. There was a queue out the door. I'm sure there are people wanting to get in that can't get in because it shows to the country and it shows to everybody here and out of this room that the North matters to the Conservative Party. It's absolutely vital that if we want to deliver Rishi Sunak as our Prime Minister at the next election, we want to return a Conservative government, we have to win in the North. And to do that, I think we would absolutely say that we need more Northern leaders with more power, with more money and more ability to deliver for our communities, because with the greatest respect to any politician in London and in respect of any official that might be based in London, we are best placed to be able to make those decisions for ourselves. And so having more mayors, it'd be great to have hopefully Keane Duncan next year as a North Yorkshire mayor, have a North East mayor alongside me. Maybe we can even get a deal for the Humber and other parts of the country as well. We can have a really powerful voice in the north of England. And what I just leave you by saying is this is important, because while this Conservative Party cares about the north of England, we need to keep up the pressure on everybody. This government, Rishi Sunak, our communities, to make sure that the north maintains its high agenda. And let's just imagine, right? Let's imagine a Britain with a stronger north. Let's imagine a Britain with more jobs and a north of England with more jobs, investment, better public transport, east-west connectivity that's much more effective than it is today. That's the vision we need to sell to the country. That's the vision we need to sell to the people that want to elect this next Conservative government. So I want to applaud John and the team at the NRG for doing what they've done, and I hope that Rishi Sunak adopts this as part of the next manifesto. So well done to the team, well done to everybody that's come today. Thank you.
Long way to go. Right, good evening everyone, how are we doing? Thank you so much for coming to our Fringe event. I am going to ask for a show of hands. We're all into gender identity here in the United Kingdom. So who self-identifies as a northerner? Anyone who hasn't put their hands up, leave the room now. Look, I've got the easiest part of this, which is just to say a few very, very quick thank yous. I formed the NRG 2.5, nearly 3 years ago now, and it's something that's brought Northern Conservative MPs together in an extraordinary way. Look, we don't all agree about every policy, but if you look at our manifesto, there is so much that binds us together. And the truth, why we've come together on this policy document is it's not about whether you're on the left or the right of the Conservative Party. It's not about politics, it's about place. And if you look at our group of MPs, including the people who aren't on the stage, like Sarah Brickcliffe, Rob Largan, Chris Green, Mark Eastwood, Nick Fletcher, I'm sorry if I've missed anyone else out, we are united by one vision to level up the north, ignite our economy, and ensure that those people who put their hands up at the start have something to, to hold on to when it comes to voting Conservative, that we are the party of the north. We are the party that has a plan to improve the lives of the people we have the privilege of representing. This is our third conference here at the Conservative Party Conference. We've also had 2 additional conferences in Doncaster, and that is, those conferences in Doncaster are what led to the formation of this manifesto. It is a collective effort. It's not about people who've been elected as MPs. We had loads of members of the Conservative Party, business people, local councillors, third sector companies who came to Doncaster to tell us what they wanted to see in this manifesto. And that's why I'm so proud of it. Because it's not MPs or Parliament or Whitehall telling the North what it needs. It's the North telling Whitehall what we want. It's us saying, give us the tools we need and we will deliver for our economy. In terms of those thank yous, there are a few more people to thank as well. Katie Frank, who I just see has slipped in the corner, was one of the first people who worked for the NRG and helped us get going. Aline Storride and Joe Barker are our fantastic support team who have helped us write this manifesto, as well as everyone else who took part. The people I really want to thank is you. Because the NRG, the Northern Research Group, Conservative MPs would be absolutely nothing without our Northern members of the Conservative Party. So please give yourself a huge round of applause for everything you have done, not what we have done. And look, it's right to say, and I'll just say this finally, that the North is covered in marginal seats. It was an extraordinary election victory that Boris Johnson gave us in the north of England, but it's one I know we can repeat by uniting together. And it reminded me of a funny story Sarah Brickcliffe was telling me about when she went canvassing. Sarah had the Prime Minister visit. It's what happens if you've got a marginal seat. And Sarah, who is, I think, one of the top canvassers in the whole of Britain, let alone the north of England, went knocking on a door with the Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, and someone, a true Lancastrian, Accrington, I think it was, Sarah, ran forward and he saw Sarah. He's very excited, just sort of then noticed Rishi, but Sarah was the main event. And he said to her, you know, Sarah, you're so lucky because Rishi Sunak is knocking on doors with you. And every time the public here in the north of England see Rishi Sunak, we're more likely to vote for you. Sarah was delighted. She's defending her 3,500 majority, I think it is. I haven't done you out of it. A week before, Keir Starmer had been out with a Labour candidate and knocked, unbelievably, on exactly the same door. And the guy said, he told Sarah this, and he said, look, a week before I had the candidate I won't name is Wally, and Keir Starmer knock on my door. And he said, you know what, every time I see the Labour candidate and Keir Starmer, it makes me more likely to vote for you and Rishi Sunak. And, you know, that's what we need to see. Every time the public sees our Prime Minister, Rishi, we go up in the polls. And every time Keir Starmer opens his mouth on policy, we go up in the polls. So if we unite behind RPM, stick together, keep fighting for the North, I absolutely know all of those brilliant colleagues who are members of the NRG will be back here, not just at the next conference, but every other one after that, fighting for you. So get out, back them and back the North. Thank you.
Please go ahead and enjoy the hospitality now. Thank you very much.